Hey y'all, it's your pal Madge. Welcome back to my garden. As I was puttering around doing my garden chores this week, I realized right now we have plants in every stage of development around here. So I thought for today's video we would walk through all of those stages together. We're going to plant some seeds and take care of some baby plants. We're going to do some harvesting and arranging and just enjoy all of the beautiful flowers we've been growing together all season. So let's get into it. I went ahead and ripped out most of the nasturtiums from this green stalk. They were looking pretty ratty. And look what I found though. The strawberries have been growing the whole time underneath the nasturtiums. Wild, right? They're even sending out runners. So we're going to have a lot more strawberries next year. We also have a bunch of empty pockets though. So let's put some seeds in.
I am going to plant these empty pockets out with a mixture of food and flowers, starting with a little bit of spinach. I grew this spinach in the spring and I really enjoyed having it for my green smoothies, to put on a sandwich at lunchtime, and it has plenty of time to grow now between the frost. I'm going to put in some of these little purple and white phlox as well. The phlox that I'm growing now are the cherry caramel variety with those like magenta centers, and I've just loved having those to do arrangements. So I'm happy to get some of these in. And the last time I planted the green stalk, I just did it kind of willy-nilly. This time I am planting the same variety all the way around the tier. That way I'll know what's coming in, and when stuff starts growing, it won't be a surprise to me what it is. I have loved growing in these green stalks this season, though. I might splash out and get a few more next year. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But it's such a great way to get a bunch of different things growing in a really small amount of space. And when they fill in, they look really cute. They add like a vertical design element to the garden, so it's not just a bunch of stuff growing out of the ground. Yeah, I will be pleased to grow in these for the years to come. They seem to be really well made as well. And I got a boring color because I wanted just to focus on the plants, but they come in a lot of fun colors. All right, this is the last seed I'm going to plant today. These little Kilimanjaro marigolds. I have these growing in a lot of different places. I have not seen any flowers from any of them yet. They're supposed to be like 50 or 60 days to maturity. So hopefully, one or more of the locations where I have them planted will pop up soon. I mean, I have some tiny plants, but I haven't seen any flowers yet. And I'm historically not a huge fan of marigolds. I don't like the way that they smell, but these are supposed to smell not quite as bad as the regular ones. All right, so normally when you water the green stalk, you want to water it from the top. There's like a hole in the lid, and the water falls down from the top layer down through all the layers. And watering it this way is actually really good because it makes the roots of each plant in each pocket go deep to find the water. But when you put seeds in, it's a good idea to just go ahead and water each pocket individually. So I'm using the mist setting on my wand here and getting everything a little bit moist so that that seed will make really good contact with the soil and hopefully germinate really soon. Side note, we have gone through 3 or 4 watering wands this season. We have not been able to find one that is durable. So if you happen to have one that has stood the test of time, please let me know. I think that there's some kind of professional brands out there that I'm going to need to look into. And this one still works well enough for now, but you can see by my left hand there, there's a little leak. I'm holding it, it's dripping. It's not ideal.
Let's go down to the basement and check out the babies that we planted a few weeks ago for next spring.
All right, so let's take off the humidity dome and see how these guys are doing. This footage is from about a week after we planted them. And look, everyone is coming up. Well, almost everyone. There's a couple varieties there that are still not germinating, the Campanula Rose and the Deep Blue. I think that's because those seeds are pelleted, meaning they're covered with a clay coating, so they just take a little bit longer. But yeah, everyone else is coming to life. We love to see it. My next step is going to be after I remove the humidity dome, I'm going to adjust the grow light so that it is much closer to the seedlings. You basically want the grow light to be as close as possible to the seedlings so that they don't have to stretch up and get leggy. All right, so this footage is from about a week after the footage that we just saw, and you can see how big some of these guys are getting. So when I water them from the bottom. They don't actually need water right now. I just wanted to show you. Some of them are looking a little dry though, so I'm going in and very gently giving them a drink. You really want to be careful not to overwater your seedlings. They are tiny little plants. It's easy for them to drown. And so I'm really just going to wait for these guys to dry out almost completely before I water them again. And that will hopefully help them get strong and be ready to go outside real soon.
A few weeks ago, we talked about days to maturity, the number of days that's normally on a seed packet that tells you, okay, if you plant it on this day, then within X number of days, you should be able to harvest it. It's really only a guideline. And I want to talk about that a little bit while showing you these zinnias, which we planted 35 days ago. They are almost ready to harvest. And honestly, I actually did harvest one the other day because it was ready. I'm not going to harvest these quite yet, even though when you wiggle them, the stem is stiff, and that's normally the test for zinnias as to whether you want to harvest them or not. I learned from Erin at Floret that with these fancy double varieties, you want to let them mature a little bit on the plant. Because look, this is still got petals that are opening up. And if I cut it right now, I would never see what it could look like once all those petals open up. So I'm going to let these go for another couple of days. I'll just keep an eye on them. And when I don't see any more petals developing, I'll start thinking about cutting them. But these were supposed to be mature in 60 days, and it's been only 35 days. And they're almost ready. So why do we think that is? There are a lot of factors that go into that. I planted these in nice, fancy, fluffy potting soil, and they're in an elevated raised bed, which means the hot air can get underneath them. The dark color of the bed is collecting the heat, so the soil has been nice and warm for them the whole time. It's also been ridiculously hot all throughout the month of July, RIP my electricity bill. And all of those factors mean that these guys were just able to grow in their ideal growing conditions. And they've been coming on like gangbusters. And they're so pretty. You can see why I'm so excited to get my hands on some zinnias, right? Hello, Angel. And as you know, we've had other zinnias that did not come on at all during the 60 days prescribed on the packet because they didn't like the soil, they didn't get enough sunshine. A whole host of variables could impact whether something comes close to that days to maturity or not. It's really just a guideline, and it's always worth experimenting to see if something's going to come up for you.
While we're up on the deck, let's go ahead and do a little harvesting. I am going to pick the last few Lysianthus from the first flush. We may or may not get another round of these before the frost. It looks like a lot of the purple ones are sending up shoots for a second round of flowers, but I'm not sure if the pink and blue ones will. Regardless, I've loved everything about growing these, and I'm going to grow way more of them next year because they're just lovely. They last forever in the vase, and I'm obsessed. I'm also going to grab this beautiful pink snapdragon. And over at the green stalk, we have tons of cool stuff growing in here, including lots and lots of lime basil, which I have been using as filler in my arrangements. It smells so good. It looks really cool. And yeah, I'm just in love with it. I am taking off most of the leaves of each of these lime basil plants that I harvest, just because the leaves don't look good when once it gets in the vase. They start to wilt, they start to droop and look bad. This big one I've just harvested is a lettuce leaf basil, massive basil leaves the size of a lettuce leaf, and the flowers are really beautiful and chubby and cute. So this is the first time I've harvested one of these, and I'm excited to play with it. Now I'm going to do a little harvesting from the main level of the garden. I just set my bucket down and wander around and see what's ready. I have been picking off of these Rudbeckia almost daily for nearly a month now, and they are still going strong. I really love these flowers. They are so cheerful. Again, they last forever in the vase and they're perennial, so they're going to keep coming back year after year. At this moment, I think that I see one of the sawfly larvae that gets on my roses in the bucket, and I'm trying to fish it out, but it turns out it's just a piece of a leaf, no big deal. So I'm going to wander back to this other bed where I have some snapdragons and some celosia, and I'm going to pick some of those too. In the bed at the base of the deck, I have several little orange dahlias growing. They're only a couple feet tall, but I keep picking on them really deep to try to encourage them to grow slightly longer stems. And it's starting to work. I'm getting a little bit longer stems. Maybe by the end of the season, I'll get regular sized dahlia stems. And I've grabbed a couple of snapdragons out of this bed as well. And I'm picking off the leaves, just throwing them right on the bed so that they can compost in there and add organic material to the soil. And then I'm just going to go put them in the bucket. And then I'm going to stand and look around for a minute and decide where to go next. Honestly, this is what I do just about every morning. I make a cup of tea. I come out here with my clippers and a bucket of water, and I just wander around and pick whatever is tickling my fancy that morning. At this point, I am going over to the terracotta bed and I'm going to pick some celosia, not only because it's cute and I want to do a little bit of arranging with it, especially the smaller ones. I think I'm starting to really like those in arrangements. I wasn't sure when I first started harvesting off the celosia if I was into it or not, but I'm starting to really like it. So I want to grab some of those. And I also just want to reduce the volume on these plants because the plants are massive and they're crowding out my zinnias, and we can't have that. Now everything goes right into the bucket and into the shade while I wander around the front and the side and start looking for stuff to pick there too.
Now I'm going to show you a couple of things that I really wanted to harvest, but I decided not to, showing uncharacteristic for me restraint. These snaps are almost ready. I'm going to give them one more day. This zinnia, unbelievably beautiful, but it's still developing petals. So I want to give it some time and let it finish doing its thing. Same thing with this zinnia. It's stiff enough to harvest, but I can see that there's still petals to open, and I want to see what they look like. These Rudbeckia, they are massive. They're a little bit past their prime though. You can see these ones here on this plant have more of a paler center. And so I've just been leaving these for the pollinators who adore them. I like these ones a little bit better that have the darker center, but these ones have been chewed up a little bit by the bugs. And I have a lot of Rudbeckia plants, so I'm just going to let the bugs have these. These ones will be ready in a couple of days. I also wanted to harvest this black knight scabiosa. But you see all those other little buds on there? I want to give those a chance to develop. All these snappies in here are very close to being ready to harvest. Once you can see the color on the petals, you see that pink one back there? Once you can see that, you know it's almost time. It just is going to take another day or two. Earlier in the season, I was harvesting my snapdragons a little bit later, after like 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 flowers were open. But I noticed when I do that, they don't last as long in the vase. So I've been trying to get them once the first flower opens so that I can enjoy them for a long time. Here's another zinnia back in the terracotta bed that's not quite ready. This one's a little bit funky. I don't know about that furry middle, but let's wait and see what happens. I harvested the celosia pretty hard, but I did not harvest these brains. They are all on one stalk, and to cut one of them and have a decent stem length, I need to cut them all. And I think I'd just rather look at them in the landscape. These zinnias growing up through the middle of the morning glory vines are just so cute that I think I'm not going to harvest them. I think I'm just going to let them be there. Maybe I'll get them in a couple of days if I feel like it, but I just like looking at them here for now.
This plant is called Rudbeckia triloba, and it is a cousin of the black-eyed Susans that we were just looking at in the backyard. I put too many plants in a single pot, so they are not getting to their fullest potential, but I've still been able to harvest off of them, and I really love including these in my bouquets. They're so sweet and have a really cute sense of movement.
I've been harvesting some cute little zinnias from the front garden, and I want to show you the difference between one that's ready to harvest and one that's not quite ready. See this plant right here? The one in the front doesn't have any more petals to open. The one in the back does. Those little pieces that are sticking up. So it's not quite ready to grab yet, but I'm going to grab this one. Sorry, buddy. It's funny, when I'm looking out at the garden the last week or so, I don't think I have that much to harvest. I don't have any giant flushes of Lysianthus or bells of Ireland or snapdragons anymore. But once I poke around, I pretty much end up with a full bucket every day.
Let's arrange some of these goodies from the garden. I am working with flowers that I've picked over the last day or two. These are not the ones that we harvested together today. The garden is pumping out so many flowers, but it's really good for them to hang out for a couple of hours to a day in a cool house in a dim spot. That's my dining room. And they soak up a lot of water, and the next day is a really good time to start to arrange them. So I'm just starting with a couple of larger flowers and building out from there. I'm doing this with my heart. I am grabbing whatever is appealing to me in the moment, and I'm trying to balance the colors as I go. So you can see here I have two black-eyed Susans on one side of the bouquet, and I'm going to add a third one on the other side just to balance things out. Now, there are no hard and fast rules in flower arranging, but when you can have an odd number of something, like 3 or 5 or 7, it tends to be really pleasing to the eye. It's not always possible. Like if you see that lavender lilac sort of towards the front of the bouquet next to the black-eyed Susan, I only have one of those right now. And it's not like I'm not going to arrange with it just because I only have one. But knowing that I only have one, I'll try to balance out those colors in another way. I'll use some lavender snapdragons or a rose colored straw flower to try to carry those colors throughout the arrangement. There are as many ways to arrange flowers as there are people and flowers. This is just how I like to do it. Adding a little bit of lime basil right now for some movement and for a really, really nice scent. Every time I give someone a bouquet, they're like, wow, this smells really great. And I'm like, yeah, that's the basil. They, it really just makes the bouquet smell glorious, and you can see how those little fronds, the little flowers, really catch the movement in the wind. There is another YouTuber I really love named Crane from Cranery Gardens, and he calls these kind of flowers that catch the breeze Gadook flowers. So whenever I use one of these flowers now, I think, oh, Gadook. And it's really nice to have little flowers like that that kind of float above the rest of the bouquet and add a lot of movement and whimsy, and they just make it really cute. So I'm continuing to build this. When I pick one kind of flower, I'm again trying to balance it out across the bouquet. And I'm so happy at this point to have some pink flowers to arrange with. I didn't really have many pink flowers at, for most of the season. I had a lot of lavenders and yellows, but to me, pink is the bridge between lavender, yellow, peach, green. It just makes all of them feel so much more cohesive and complementary towards each other. So I'm glad that I have some pink zinnias coming in. I have these pink straw flowers. And yeah, that's just making me really happy. There's a branching straw flower or snapdragon there that I just put on. All right, so we're getting towards the end. I'm going to start adding some more Gadook flowers and just to capture the movement. I have a couple of cosmos that work really well for that purpose. And of course, these grasses that you see waving in the breeze on the front of the bucket, they are literal weeds that I pulled out of my garden from a part that we haven't really tamed yet. But I love how they look. They last a really long time in the vase, and I haven't seen any bugs on them. So why not use them, right? All right, I am finishing this up now, and I'm really happy with how this turned out. It is a sweet, sweet baby bouquet. And then here's the second one that I made. I was talking the whole time, and it just went on a little long, as I do. But I like this second one maybe even more than the first one. I don't know. The colors are really speaking to me. It feels very romantic and sweet. And yeah, I'm going to really enjoy looking at these over the next week or so. And to close the life cycle, this is what I do with the spent flowers after I've enjoyed them in the house for a week or so. I just add them back to the soil. The heat wave finally broke this week, and it's been in the 60s and 70s. Absolutely divine. Sunny, breezy, not cold, not super hot. It's just been a really glorious couple of days in the garden. And as always, I'm going to leave you with some views of what we made together this week. This is the first bouquet that we put together up on the deck. I got a little turntable so that I can film these guys from all angles. And you're going to find me in February with my nose in my phone, just looking at these videos nonstop and remembering how beautiful it was to have all of these flowers. This is one that I made last week, an all timer in my opinion. I can't even really pin down what makes me love it so much, but I think it might be that zinnia right there. And here is the second bouquet that we made together. These colors and textures, they're just really doing it for me. And I love seeing the little Rudbeckia triloba and the cosmos catch a little wiggle in the breeze. It's just so cute. Look at these fluffy, thick zinnias. They're finally here, y'all. We knew this day would come, and it's finally here. With this one, I really caught that good morning light. And you can see a couple of roses and lizzies in there, some celosia. It's always amazing to me how bouquets can have so many of the similar raw ingredients, but end up looking and feeling so different just based on the proportions of the flowers, the way that the colors and textures play together, and the vessel that you use. And here is a majestic display of Lysianthus. These have been in the vase for at least a week. They're still looking glorious. Even as they start to fade away, they look amazing. Look at that one that's coming around from the right. It started out dark purple and now it's what, a pale green with a purple center? It's just, there are no words. I'm going to have to grow way more of these next year, way more varieties. I'm trying to pick out the seeds that I want now because I'm going to try to grow them from seed. It's supposed to be really hard, but I'm going to give it a try. And if it works, we will have so many Lizzies all for us. And if it doesn't, we'll just buy plugs from Farmer Bailey like we did this year. This is a sweet little pastel bouquet that has probably been in here for a good week. And you can tell that these flowers are not fresh off the plant. But as they age, they develop this softness and this mutedness to the tones that I just really, really like. And I've got a little bit of euphorbia in here. That's that greenery with the white edges. I need a bunch more of that next year. It's one of my faves. And these are some Lizzies that are not long for this world, but I just had to share this coloration with you on the backs of the petals, especially all of the pinks and greens and lavenders that are showing up there. It's just otherworldly to me. I want to thank you for spending your time with me again this week. I always appreciate getting to share these things that I love with you so much. It makes me really happy, and I hope that it brings some joy to your day as well. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can see more. And yeah, I will look forward to seeing you next week, friend. Bye for now.